Ujikaji Radio, experimental music from Southeast Asia.
Count the mistakes, the chances we take, and put them all in a basket. Don't be afraid to count all your eggs, to sell them all in the marketplace. Learn, we will learn to admit defeat. Time understands when it wants to. Time of rebirth, loved ones beloved, belonging, all those who gather. Don't be alarmed, don't be afraid, we'll tell them all in the human race. Learn, we will learn to admit defeat. Time understands when it wants to. Ooh, we do what we do. A little kindness too, so that others can do what they want to. To all those who seek happiness, keep a record of all your sadness. For what we'll search, for what we'll need, together sooner or later we learn. Learn, we will learn to admit defeat. Time understands when it wants to. Ooh, we do. Ooh, we do.
Hello, welcome to Ujikaji Radio. This is Liz, and
This is Mark.
this is the Observatory Special, Part 1.
So we're doing a special two-parter in anticipation of the Observatory's new album Oscilla, which will be released on the 15th of August, and they will have a gig. Tell us about the gig.
The gig will be on the 15th and 16th of August at the Substation. So if you want to get tickets, you can get it at oscilla.ptix.com, or you can go to the Substation website and then call the box office. But you should get it at PTix.
That song was the title track from the Observatory's very first album. The album was released in March 2004, which is a good 10 years ago.
I was like 12.
Yeah, and well, that was I guess it's a interesting song because it's very much a continuation of Leslie Lowe, the lead singer, his work since his last band, Comeback Oak. And interestingly, the theme of the song of Rebirth and all that, it kind of like followed the band throughout the entire career, in the sense that with every album, oftentimes members float in, float out, and then the sound is always changing as well.
Well, even if members aren't really floating in and out, the influences do change over the years. So it's actually quite interesting to note how different albums actually sound really, really different. It's like kind of schizophrenic sometimes, but it's great because it kind of follows you through your own personal growth as a person, and it follows the band through their own personal growth through music and their own lives.
Yeah, so I think we should at least mention the lineup at this stage of time. It was Leslie, Vivian Wang, who was playing keyboards, Dharma Shan, who is also one of the earliest members. He was playing guitar, of course. We've mentioned Leslie already. And then there's Evan Tan on electronics, Victor Low on bass and classical guitar. And so what's interesting, I think we're going to play one of their most popular songs from Time of Rebirth. It's called Killing Time. The vocals here are done by Vivian Wang. And yeah, again, this was played so often in all their gigs, and people really loved it at the time. And I think what would be interesting also is to hear the kinds of influences and the kinds of sounds that they were utilizing back then. A lot of electronics. You can hear the laptop work from Evan, and it was very much that sound of the early to mid 2000s.
Sad is the
Killing Time. It's really funny that even on the most recent Transitions tour that the Observatory did, that was in June, people were still requesting for Killing Time. And it's funny because the album's like 10 years old now, and the Observatory has progressed a lot, and the sound really has changed quite a fair bit. Not that it's better or worse, but it's just very different lah. But people are kind of still hung up about Time of Rebirth, I guess, because it is quite a favourite album for many. Some people even put lyrics as their Instagram names. Some people. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, listening to that is really quite interesting. Want to talk a bit about the electronics. That was of course done by Evan, and of course there was a time also whereby Singapore had quite a number of musicians using laptops to make music, more abstract or ambient sounds, and yeah, it very much. Observatory was a way that kind of confluence between more experimental, formless music as well as your rock and pop song structures. Yeah, and I also wanted to say that it's Evan actually also played drums at a lot of their live shows. I think from the start the band in a way they have had they haven't really had a fixed drummer of sorts, and of course later on you find that it culminated in the entire band playing drums at some point in time. Yeah, but I think do you want to talk something about the album?
Oh yeah, I thought it was worth to mention the Time of Rebirth actual album art and cover and stuff. I think it was actually one of my favorites because if you guys still have it, it's like a diary of sorts, and it has like photos that are paper clipped in, which I hear was a bitch to do, and they're really really cool drawings and stuff. Like my favorite is the elephant peanut. Where is it? Oh, it's in a page with Leslie's photo, but it has like this elephant eating a peanut. It's really funny. I wish you could see. Do you think it's funny?
It's an elephant shooting a peanut out of its
It's not. It's sucking a peanut
It's not
in.
sucking, it's blowing it out.
Okay, maybe. And then inside the elephant is an upside down bird, and then with his legs sticking out through the elephant. It's really like reading through someone's diary, and it's really interesting.
It's all handwritten. I think Leslie wrote it.
I don't know.
So from the start, I think the Ops also has paid a lot of attention to album design, the whole album artwork, and the entire listening and viewing and holding experience.
The whole physical experience of actually buying an album, listening to an album, and reading through the liner notes. And this is not just liner notes, this is really like reading through someone's diary.
Which you said before.
Oops. Yeah, but I've always appreciated how the Obs albums have always looked really polished, but not like hipster chic. It always has a very personal touch to it. I really love it. I do think that they really do pay attention to the whole physicality of an album and the whole process involved, lah. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the next album, actually, again, it's really interesting. The album is called Blank Walls, and the packaging actually, the front cover is actually made of thermal sensing paper, and I remember when I bought it, it's entirely black. It looks really like, what's this, so plain, like there's nothing going on. I mean, like, it's like so corny to call your album Blank Walls and then really have no artwork. But the interesting thing is that I remember buying it, and then after the launch, and then going home on the bus, and I was just holding it, and then I didn't realize it, but after removing my hand, I saw like this intricate artwork being revealed on the cover, and that's because like the heat from your hand actually changes reveals the patterns on it, basically, which I thought was like, attending the album launch was kind of momentous enough, but then actually like playing a part in a way, using your own heat and body warmth to reveal more details from the album artwork. I thought that was a really, really nice and personal touch. I really drew the audience into it. Yeah. So we're gonna play you now two songs from Blank Walls. They are Olives and Oddball. Just want to say that at this point in time, you hear live drums, and that's of course from a new member, Adam Shah, who joined the band for this album, Blank Walls.
Excitement's gone, but it won't be long. It'll come full circle, ups and downs like fools and clowns. Come full circle, pull myself together. She won't stand for it. For my nonsense, my conscience is weak. Lightning strikes, batteries low, action slow. Shuffling at the top, nothing stops, war goes on. The money's in, we always win. Divine mandates, thieves will now be kings. Let him in, let him in, into our hearts. Goes on for me and you. These clouds are new, and rains down on us like heaven in a fit. Heaven we are weak. From history we've learned our nature's very strong. Nature's never wrong. In the grip of fear, life goes on. free. Little boy, here's your toy. And though the excitement's gone, it won't last long. No, it won't be long. The joy's in the way, no one escapes. Nothing here but walls, blank walls, blank walls. Falling, feeling, styling, bathing, moonlight.
Oddball, and just before that Olives. And yeah, Olives was really interesting because the band was like really coming all guns a blazing with this powerful new album. and they had changed their sound very much as well from the first album. I think the first album was more kind of like loungy even, and it was again, it's funny because it came out at the time where there was a lot of chill out music and things like that. But the second album had a lot more fire in some of the songs, just like Olives. And Olives, of course, is a symbol of peace, and the song is, you know, very socially aware, very anti-war. Yeah, and it's something that I think the band would be very much interested in. I mean, issues and issues around them that they would be very much interested in all throughout the career. Yeah, and you could hear the drums as well, the organic, the drum kit, you know, but from Adam coming into the middle of the song. And Oddball, very interesting. If you read the lyrics, it reads almost even like a E.E. Cummings album. A lot of made up words, and then the funny time signature. It alternates between 4/4 and 3/4, and yeah, it's just really rich, musically rich time in their lives. And I mean, don't you think that Olives sounds a lot like Radiohead? Which I always think that no one really says that, but I think the band quite sounds. I mean, they follows quite a bit of that kind of Radiohead alternative rock structures, and guitar lines and things like that.
I mean, sure, at the crux of it, the Observatory still a rock band, and Radiohead does have some interesting riffs and stuff. I guess sometimes you can't help but play something that you might be listening to at that point in time. Like, sometimes I play Swans and then I think, sounds a little bit like Ops. Sometimes the vocals and stuff. And then sometimes, I also listen to like Kid A and then I'm like, oh, sounds suspiciously alike. But then you never really know, right? I mean, so many songs sound alike. There are only so many chords that you can play with.
Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because sometimes people think Radiohead is too cool already, or like they are so cool that they're uncool. It's very weird. I don't know why these music trends go in cycles. Yeah, like they reach a peak of their popularity, and then you know then the naysayers start coming around. But yeah, it's really just music, and it's really good music at that. So should we move on to the next album?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna play you 2 songs from the next album. Next album is all in red. It's called A Far Cry From Here. It was packaged like a letter home from space or something like that.
Yeah, like a little stamp, and it says Singapore on it. And then you open it, and then it comes like bound with an elastic band. It's A Far Cry From Here. It was released April 2007. And it's kind of, I always felt it was like a cosmic storybook of sorts.
I guess it's kind of like, I don't know. Okay, so I said it's like a postcard from outer space. It's like a postcard from Singapore to outer space. It's kind of like describing the state of Singapore to an alien, I suppose. That's how I see it.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Personally, sometimes I also feel like an alien. So I feel like this letter is kind of written to people who do feel a bit alienated from their homes.
Okay. Yeah, and then, well, I think, and also sound-wise, here they had a new member, Ray Aziz, who was on drums, and Ray is a fantastic veteran kind of drummer.
Bash!
And so you can hear it on the first song we played, Deadheat, and then you can hear him again on Last Grand Fallible Plan. But on Deadheat, it's really the kind of intricate patterns, the kind of almost prog rock kind of tortoise-like kind of crowd rock kind of rhythms really come out. It's really wonderful, and it was one of my favorite albums at that point in time, and it still is. I still listen to it a lot.
And was this the album that they opened for Tortoise?
And it was the album that no, actually the previous album, Blank Walls, was the one whereby they opened for Tortoise. Yeah.
I didn't see that.
And then on Last Grand Fallible Plan, that may well be one of my favorite songs from the Observatory. It's got vocals from Vivian, and it's just beautiful. I mean
I really like it. I really like it as well.
Yeah, the guitar solos are really just climactic. It's just so wonderful. Okay, so here we go.
far as can be.
got to say how lovely the lyrics are. Should I grow old here? Deal with the fear. Stay in my hole. Do as I'm told. I just play that song over and over and over again so much. Yeah, and then the gotta mention the guitar solos, just out of this world. Okay. Yeah, that kind of like that kind of wraps up that period of sound. Actually, I think from here on,
from here on, I feel like it only gets darker and heavier. And I mean, with the next one would be Dark Folk. Then after that, you go on to Catacombs, and then now we're having Oscilla. And I know a lot of people haven't heard Oscilla yet, but there are different levels of heaviness that it gets progressively heavier over the years, and not in a dark way as well in the beginning. And then after that, I think with Oscilla, it starts coming up as a more, it's heavy but kind of in an optimistic angst, if that makes sense.
Well, we'll talk about Oscilla in a bit. I think the trajectory up to this point is, you can also look at it in that notion of like post rock, and I think the Ops always offered something always very much more refreshing than the trend of instrumental the bands that became post rock by virtue of playing rock songs without vocals, and then they have repetitive riffs and this and that. But I think the Ops always switch things around a lot. The songs were always a lot more complex, yeah, and always a lot more interesting in that sense. In a way, they kind of followed that Chicago jazz sound, as well as the Norwegian kind of small town super surround kind of room gramophone kind of sounds, yeah, the Jaga Jazzes kind of sounds, yeah, and they were doing a lot of that. Yep. So I think then when we move on into Dark Folk, that was a really interesting time. So I think when Ray left, the drummer, I think that the other joke about the Observatory is that they're almost like a This Is Spinal Tap movie where all the drummers explode or disappear. Yep. So
everyone's drummer always explodes and disappears. There's something about drummers lah.
Yeah. With Dark Folk, they really got into that whole doom sound, all the drones that coming out, which is also, I think, a result of them doing an arts fest work called Invisible Rooms, where they were going more into improvisation. They're going into heavy sounds. I mean, they're really influenced by the Southern Lord label. They had a lot of side projects going on. Leslie was releasing his Megas album with Ujikaji, along with Mark Domon, and then I mean there are other side projects like Metal, featuring a few members of the Observatory, and they all going into that whole they had acts like Snake Blood Union, which is a bit earlier actually, but yeah.
I also think it's worth mentioning that Dark Folk wasn't recorded in Singapore, it was recorded in Norway, so it might also be really reflective of the landscape, psychological landscape, physical landscape, and that they might have been in, because these things do affect the whole recording process and the whole writing process, and how what kind of sounds you decide to use and what might really resonate with you at that point in time. And I'm not sure if this was the album, but I remember hearing like Ops talk and then them saying something like they're basically doing only the music and the lyrics only came in much later, like just before they started recording, then suddenly the lyrics came. So yeah, being in a different space, might be a different headspace, physical space, that could really have affected how the whole album came about.
Yep, I think when the Ops kind of were formed, it was very much still they used a lot of songs that Leslie had written in the last days of Funback Oak, I guess, and then the band kind of like gathered around that. But as they went along, I think they began writing it more organically together. And then it's more integrated. Like they all try out parts. It's all in development rather than already fixed songs that the songwriter gives hands out to the band to play. Yep. With Dark Folk, what happened, I guess, is without when Ray left, they kind of went drummerless. But then it also became very interesting because then slowly Les started to play a bit more drums. Vivian began to play more drums. It's still very sparse. So the album is actually very sparse. When I first got it, I just thought it was like really, really spacious. I thought it was a bit too spacious, to be honest. Although now it's actually the album that I return to most.
I actually like it. I didn't really find that there was too much space or what. I thought that the most important thing about Dark Folk was the imagery that was used. I don't know whether it was like a phase in my life or what, but I mean, like for Omicron, which we're not playing, but I'm sure you guys know, it resonates a lot with me. Have you guys, I mean, I don't know, do you read the Kwapakuns, The Silly Little Girl and The Old Tree? So it's a script that he did basically where it's just a girl randomly going up to a tree and talking to the tree and saying, oh, you're just a tree, you don't know anything, you're so old, you're like my grandfather, blah blah blah. But in the end she actually finds out that the tree can communicate with her and she can communicate with the tree, and so she starts talking to the tree about life and about her childlike struggles, and there's a lot of questions for this wise old tree. So it has that connection with the earth, which I feel Dark Folk has a lot of. It talks about a lot about nature and these sorts of elements.
I guess the band was also very influenced by the whole pagan metal kind of movements.
Yeah, judging by the cover.
Yeah, you can hear it on songs like Mind Roots. You can see it in the design work by Justin Bartlett, who does a lot of the Sun album covers, as well as other bands on the Sutton Lord, or the American label that Arkan Temple was released on. UTech Records.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think a lot of that came from there actually. It's so around this time also, I guess you can hear also whereas the earlier albums were electronica, then later influenced by kind of post rock, you hear all the metal influences coming here. At this point in time, whereby black metal became a bit more accessible, or that people found it, people began to take it more seriously as a kind of a sonic experience. So we're gonna play two songs from Dark Folk. One is called Ephemeron, the other one is called Decarn, and I guess listen to the way that they have managed to get around having a regular drummer, and as well as the kinds of heavier, dronier sounds that they're using.
Stop.
about some 3 years after Dark Folk, and the Observatory returned with Catacombs. And in the meanwhile, Evan Tan has left the band, and the band is left with 4 members: Leslie, Viv, Dharma, and Victor. And Catacombs for many really marks a real turning point. The sound is just once again completely new. There's this new edge and this new intensity that they put into the music. The whole band, really interestingly, decide to pick up to play the drums. All right, so whereas previously they had difficulties looking for a permanent drummer, what's happened now is that they've instead kind of split up the drum sections so that multiple members play drums. I think every single one of them plays drums except for maybe Dharma, and so you get in fact even more intense kind of rhythms than you would have if you only had one single drummer. And even in fact live, I think Leslie plays drums and sings, which is quite interesting, which harks back to when he used to play in Touring Bar Kings, and he was actually the drummer then, rather than the lead singer. Okay, and so with Catacombs, the sound has changed. Leslie sings in the lower register, sounding, some would compare him to like a Scott Walker kind of figure. The music is still very much song-based, but live, I think live is the really interesting thing, is that they extend they extend all the instrumental parts, they extend all the drumming parts, so it repeats and it goes into these new levels of intensity like never before. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna play you 2 songs from Catacombs. They are the title track, Catacombs, and then we're gonna play you Anger and Futility, which many people seem to like. Yeah, and that's the last track from Catacombs.
Yeah, no change more. silent away. Sink it to the sea. Put it behind bars. Hang it on a tree. And let it die. Let it die. Bleed out its wealth and let it die.
Was Anger and Futility and Catacombs from the album Catacombs. So Catacombs was released in April 2012, and I think this was a period in Singapore where there was a lot of political tension. I think GE was just over, was it?
The general elections.
Yeah, the general elections
of 2011.
Of 2011 were just over, and I assume they were recording or writing in the process during 2011 throughout the 2012 period, and there were some periods, I mean personally, that I think that for lack of better word, people are just pissed off with the state of the nation, and I think Catacombs really resonated with that whole feeling of being pissed off and being very resigned to the fact that this is what is happening and this is the state of your home. And it was, I mean, for anger, like for the track Anger and Futility, right, it's talking about to let the island just sink, and I think that's how a lot of people were feeling at the time, to just let it die and have a brand new start, maybe. But I mean, Catacombs was really focusing on the part of letting this whole thing just die out, because for progress to happen you need something big, like a revolution, to happen.
The lyrics for me actually always reminds me of Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. It's got that imagery of this strange fruit hanging on the poplar tree. Yeah, and of course different context, everything. It's just, but that sense of what do you do, the horror that lies before you. And as Liz mentioned, there's a bit of that. I mean, when you end off an album with a song called Anger and Futility, wow, what a terrible way to end, right? What do you go from here? But it's almost a complete purging, in a way, of everything, of emotions. It's a purging in many ways, actually. So at this point in time, I guess, again, so many lineup issues. After the album, Victor leaves. I think just to focus on career and family, and then so they are left with three. It's like three of the earliest members, Dharma, Les, and Viv, and then Barney joins in. So Barney played a big hand in developing the next album, the new album, Oscilla. Although Barney himself would also leave the band just before the recording, and so they will have two new members, Yuan Shiwai, who's been very prominent in the electronics laptop scene, as well as Cheryl Ong, who plays in a band called Sa, and she's very much of a Chinese percussionist, but she really she plays the drum kit on Oscilla. So now we come to the brand new album Oscilla, and I don't know what to say about it. It's really, really powerful. It's not negative. It's really, really positive. It's like this new wave of life that's come on to the band. The songs are mostly upbeat. They're really energetic. It's dark as well. It's a brooding kind of feeling, but it's also bursting with hope. Yep, and I think that the new members play a large part in it.
Well, yeah, and it's also because, I mean, they toured with the album with Heiko before actually recording it, and then when Chiwa and Cheryl came on board. But it's funny because you see you have like Anger and Futility and the whole thing from Catacombs, where everyone is just so pissed off with everything, just wanting to let everything die. But when they end off, it's kind of like, it ends off very open-endedly. You don't know what's going to happen next. And then after that, they come back with Oscilla, and it's like so powerful and so much stronger, and there's this new optimism and hope. And the fact that they've never ever lost their awareness for the social situation, the social and political situation in Singapore, I think that's really, really important. I think that's what Oscilla really is about, just a new desire for the people above everything else. No more structures, no more government, no more fixed things like you have to do it this way or do it that way. It's just a new organic way of living. And I don't mean like organic living, but it's into organic growth. And I think this is something that's consistent for all 6 albums, because the Obs has never said, oh, we are Obs, we are a rock band and we play this kind of music. They never go into a recording studio thinking, okay, this is the kind of music that we're gonna play. Okay, nothing else, that's it. if it doesn't sound like that, we're not going to record it. It's always a process. It's always something that grows, that they allow to grow organically, and that's what I really appreciate about the Observatory. And so that's it from us and the Observatory Special Part 1. Stay tuned for Part 2, which we will announce shortly. But also, to thank you for listening, we're gonna give you guys a discount code for your pre-order for a 3-in-1 super bundle. That means your vinyl, CD, and cassette, because some of you are completists and we know it and you know it, and just do it. So all you need to do is check out with the code
Ostrilla, OS3 RILLA.
What's Ostrilla?
It's a special discount code for 3 formats. Ostrilla, OS3 RILLA.
So that's OS, the number 3.
RILLA.
Okay. So OS, the number 3, RILLA. Is that right?
Yes. Ostrilla, OS3 RILLA.
This code will only be valid until August 8th. Midnight.
Thank you for listening. This has been Mark and Liz. This was the Ujikaji Observatory special, whereby we ran through a whole decade's worth of music by the Observatory, ending off with this last song. It's from the brand new album Oscilla. It's called Subterfuge. Enjoy and buy the albums, attend the concerts, as well as wait for part 2, where we'll have a special guest on the show
with special tracks from Lord, probably a decade ago actually. Bye.
Bye.